Good evening. I am the Maven of the Eventide, and welcome to Vampire Reviews. Oh, it's okay. She can stay with me. This is my emotional support skull. Are you thirsty? It is time to imbibe in some delicious, viscous true blood. Tonight, we look at Season 3, which aired in the sticky, sweaty, sexy summer of 2010. As we've discussed before in my videos about Seasons 1 and 2, the hit HBO show has a reputation for starting off pretty good and then getting bad and really, really weird over the course of its 7 seasons. But in Season 3, it was still riding high on and contributing heavily to the popularity wave of a freshly post-Twilight era of vampire mania. And though none of them are flawless, even for a show so deliberately trashy and indulgent, Season 3 is still one of True Blood's best. It's a season full of intrigue, love triangles, and so many characters keeping mysterious, dark secrets. The season's core plot is based pretty solidly on Book 3 in Charlaine Harris's Southern Vampire Mysteries series, but that core is surrounded by a whole bunch of stuff that's just made up for the show. And this season is where it really starts to come down with its HBO-itis. You know, that thing that seems to keep happening to popular HBO shows as the seasons go on, and they just get too many characters, and the writers have to keep coming up with things for these characters to do. Most serial drama shows of this structure focus on an A, B, and C plot with occasional minor D plots to pad out the season, but Season 3 of True Blood has at least 8 plots going on, and several of them have absolutely nothing to do with and never tie into the main plots at all. Except perhaps in a thematic way, if we think about it really, really hard. Which is exactly what we do here on Vampire Reviews. You'd think the logical thing when you get too many characters who aren't involved in the main 3 storylines would be to write them out of the show or kill them off. Especially in a series like this where people meet bloody, gory ends left and right. But this ain't Game of Thrones. If True Blood catered toward anything, it was fan service. And when a character got popular, the showrunners took note. Take, for example, Lafayette. In the books, he's an extremely minor character who dies at the start of Book 2. But he was such a fan favorite in the show that they kept him alive and a main character for all 7 seasons. Which means they had to come up with stuff for him to do. So in Season 3, he gets an adorable love interest. Same goes for Sookie's boss, Sam, who gets an estranged, abusive family to reconnect with, and her brother, Jason, who decides he wants to become a cop. And you could even say the same for most of the main vampire characters as well. The books are all from telepathic human waitress Sookie's point of view, so of course we don't see what the other characters are up to when she's not with them. And the third Southern Vampire mystery starts with her boyfriend Bill getting kidnapped. Sookie is on the case to find and rescue him with the help of a friendly werewolf and the vampire sheriff Eric. Bill isn't even in like 95% of the book. But in the show, we can't have that. He's one of our stars. Gotta get that screen time, give the people what they want. And that's not Sookie angsting alone solving a mystery. No, it's lots of blood and sex and violence and vampires on screen as much as possible. And yes, also werewolves. The show had previously introduced the supernatural kitchen sink idea. If vampires and shapeshifters exist, then why not every other supernatural creature you can imagine? And in this season, we meet werewolves, werepanthers, witches, and even fairies, though the last 2 are mostly set up for Season 4.
No, I'm trying to hurt you.
I know you're a werewolf. I've had vampire blood. I'll kick your ass.
Listen, Eric Northman's the one who sent me.
The main werewolf is Alcide, who Eric sends to help Sookie find Bill. Alcide is big and tough and looks like the brawny paper towel man, but he's a nice werewolf who just wants to keep his identity a secret and live in peace and harmony with his local wolf pack. This is contrasted to the evil werewolves, who are the ones who kidnap Bill. They're roughhouse redneck biker stereotypes addicted to vampire blood and secretly have been working for the evil vampire king for centuries, including being literal Nazis during World War II.
You Nazi werewolves.
Even though the vampires in True Blood have been portrayed as trashy and gritty in the Southern Gothic aesthetic of the series, alongside these werewolves, they now look downright glamorous by comparison.
The first season and second two, we just had vampires were the coolest kids on the block. And now they've got the rival gang.
And the fights are crazy and the shifts are crazy. And if you think vampires are crazy, wait till you see the wolves.
And to heighten the contrast even further, unlike the sleazy vampires of the first couple seasons, this season we spend most of our time with elegant vampire royalty.
Mr. Compton, thank you for joining us. It is an honor to have you in my kingdom again.
This new character is Russell Edgington, the vampire king of Mississippi. But don't let his American Southern accent fool you. He is 3,000 years old and one of the most powerful vampires on the planet. His sassy husband is the 700-year-old Talbot, and Russell also wants to expand his territory by entering a political marriage with the 300-year-old vampire queen of Louisiana, Sophie Anne. So he has her subject, Bill, kidnapped to gain information from him to blackmail the queen into marrying him. Talbot is of course not pleased with any of this. In the course of all this, it's revealed Bill originally entered his relationship with Sookie because the queen sent him to investigate her because Sookie is special. But nobody knows why yet.
You are valuable, that's very clear. Just not sure why.
Meanwhile, everyone's favorite 1,000-year-old vampire Eric learns Russell's responsible for killing his human family back in Viking days, and spends the season playing the court game while scheming revenge that leads him to killing Talbot, while also fantasizing about having special Sookie for himself because he seriously hearts her even though he's too cool to admit it. Meanwhile, Bill's vampire ex Lorena is back, and she wants Bill for herself again even though he hates her.
And you're not going anywhere, even if it takes 40 years. I know you will love me again.
She'd rather torture and kill him than let him not love her, and wow, so much vampire drama. And this is just the A plot? We also have yet another subplot with yet another new vampire character, Russell's spy Franklin Mott, who randomly becomes obsessed with Sookie's best friend Tara and holds her hostage to make her his vampire bride.
I love you so much.
You don't love anything. You can't. Because you are a psychopath.
And meanwhile, Eric's sidekick Pam is being tortured because she loves Eric too much to betray him to the sadistic vampire Magister, who represents the mysterious vampire shadow government, the Authority. Meanwhile, Bill's baby vampire Jessica is angsting over being too monstrous to be with her human boyfriend Hoyt. And because this is a vampire review, I'm not even going to get into all the other non-vampire romances and relationships going on in all other 56 plots of this season, but if I had to boil it down to one thing, I would say that the main running theme of season 3 is the sacrifices we make for love. And as we discussed in my previous videos, which you should totally go watch, Season 1 was about the terrors of intimacy, and Season 2 was about indulgence versus control. With its focus on being in control of oneself and one's life, it connected pretty well to the intimacy issues of Season 1. Intimacy is a way of relinquishing control, becoming vulnerable by sharing yourself with someone else, and the terror of doing this is what the characters struggle with. The vampire in True Blood is unquestionably a symbol of power. Besides being physically and mentally powerful enough that even one drop of their drug-like blood can grant humans special strength, their inter-vampire issues also all center around political hierarchies, social pecking orders, and climbing the power ladder, whether individual vampires even want to or not. Power and control are intrinsically linked. The more power you have, the more control you can wield. And Season 3 takes its turn to explore power and control by focusing on love. The show's always had romance at its core, with the ups and downs of Bill and Sookie's relationship, but Season 3 explores love and devotion with almost every single character in all 613 plotlines. Everyone is coupling off in this season. Once more, the show asks some deep philosophical questions and presents multiple points of view on each to make the audience ponder without providing the answers. Is love real?
She says it was love at first sight.
You don't believe that?
And love? Hell no. People just get what they want and leave.
I just know that isn't the man I love.
Well, maybe the man you love never existed except in your head.
Does love, being real or not, even matter?
No point anyway.
What?
Loving anyone. Anything. Feels good at first, but always turns to crap.
It's what normal people do, Sam. They fall in love.
Are the sacrifices we make for love worth it?
But how many bullets you gonna take for somebody? How many bad things gotta happen to you and the ones that you love before you realize feeling alive ain't enough?
Alcide came here despite every good reason in the world not to, because he believes that the woman he fell in love with still lives inside you somewhere. There's people that still love you for reasons I ain't even gonna try to make sense of. Wow. Talking to me about love. I see right through you. You fuck vampires and werewolves because your own kind rejects you. But I have to go. Bill would do it for me. After all you've been through, I don't want you getting mixed up in my mess. You do it for me.
We know that you love her, that you've killed for her. And from look in your eye, I can see you'd do it again if you thought that would save her.
So romantic.
It's not romantic. It's delusional.
The unhealthy love we see with the obsessed vampires like Lorena and Franklin, who want to possess the objects of their affection with no compromise, is contrasted with Sookie's much more complex relationships filled with sacrifice. Despite loving her deeply, Bill dumps Sookie to protect her from the violent vampires who want to take advantage of her specialness. Just like his vampire child Jessica dumps her boyfriend Hoyt.
But you love her.
I do. Which is why I have to let her go.
I love Hoyt, but he's so good and sweet. He deserves to be with somebody who deserves him.
They love their human significant others enough to choose not to be with them. The exact opposite of Lorena and Franklin's sick, twisted idea of love.
Look at your life since I entered it. I've only caused you pain.
That's not true.
I am death. I will bring you only suffering. Our worlds are too different. We were doomed from the start.
But this is not necessarily presented as right or good either, despite how noble it may seem. Both Sookie and Hoyt resist being dumped. They want to make their own decisions about their relationships. They want control in these situations too, and the vampire dumping them robs them of that. So both fight to regain the control from the vampires, to choose the love they want for themselves. Jessica eventually respects Hoyt's decision and they end the season happily. And even on the non-vampire side, Jason also learns this lesson when he realizes he's taking his new werepanther girlfriend Crystal's agency away by trying to protect her from her abusive family.
You're running right back to the people who have been controlling your life.
You're right, Jason. I don't need no one controlling my life. Especially not fucking you.
After all, how many steps away from that is this?
But you tie me up.
To keep you safe. Oh my God, what other reason could there be?
Sookie, on the other hand, goes back and forth with Bill several times over the season, even after she wins the fight to stop her vampire boyfriend from making decisions for her.
From the day we've met, it's been one long, bloody fight. And I keep waiting for it to be over. For us to be happy, to start our lives together like a normal couple. But it's never gonna happen for us, is it?
I want you to have all that. I want you to have the life you deserve. And I cannot give it to you.
I know what it's like to be afraid of my own body, to not be sure what it's gonna do next. I've killed. Me and Bill, we ain't so different. Why aren't you with her then?
Because she doesn't want me to be.
Normal couples do not do this, Bill Compton.
Thought you'd given up on being like normal couples.
I'm not afraid to spill a little blood anymore. Much as you want to be human, I think I'm meeting you halfway to vampire.
Alcide is a werewolf and hung up on his own abusive ex, but Sookie imagines life with someone like him would be much more what she thought love should be.
Who am I to tell you what's best for you?
If I knew what was best for me, I would have fallen in love with someone like you.
Back at you. It's too bad we're so stupid, huh?
But, like Sam's abusive mother says,
I know he's no good, but love don't discriminate.
Although, on the other hand, Bill is not wrong when he says this.
We can never love humans without bringing suffering upon them.
Sookie does for a time consider that all the darkness that's come into her life since falling in love with a vampire is worth it.
And Bill, he's risked everything for me. Our love is way bigger than him breaking up with me over the phone.
Having a relationship with a vampire is hard, and this season really gets into the dark and gritty aspects of it. Besides being a symbol of power, the vampire is also a symbol of death.
I am death.
And another big theme in this season revolves around the sheer will to live.
I think over again my small adventures, my fears, those small ones that seem so big, for all the vital things I had to get and reach, and yet there is only one great thing, the only thing. To live to see the great day that dawns and the light that fills the world.
Tara starts the season suicidal after she loses her boyfriend to eggs. But after her terrifying vampire experiences with Franklin, her perspectives change.
You got a death wish?
No. Not all. I fought like a motherfucker to survive. Never realized how much I wanted to live, too.
And even though she's misguided, Hoyt's rebound girl sums it up for the audience.
I am so proud of you.
Why?
Because you chose life. I love vampires as much as anyone else, but they have no life in them.
And after all of Sookie's back and forth on the matter, the season ends with her finally rejecting both of her vampire love interests.
You manipulated me into falling in love with you.
It is who you are, Sookie. Not what you are that I love.
Love? You don't even get to use that word.
For the record, I would never have given you to Russell.
Go back to hell where you came from, you fucking dead piece of shit.
For as much as the show changes from its source material, this is actually exactly how the book ends. Sookie rejects the vampire's symbolic death, chooses life for whatever that's worth. Except where the book makes his choice a triumphant thing, in the show, Sookie immediately after, ironically, runs straight to the cemetery to weep on her grandmother's plot, seeking solace in the grave.
I followed my heart, but it led me down a dead-end road.
But let's not forget what Lafayette says way back at the beginning of the season.
Life ain't not having problems, Tara. It's about being able to deal with the ones you got.
So deep. If the choice is between life and love, what would you choose? Is life worth living without love? Is love worth having if it means death? We all have our lives, preciously, now, in the moment. Life is real. But how can we ever know if love is truly real? Even Russell, who, despite his marital squabbles, has had one of the longest, most loving relationships we see, shows a cynical view of love when he quotes Dorothy Parker's sarcastic poem Comment.
Yes, and I am Marie of Romania.
The full verse goes, "Oh, life is a glorious cycle of song, a melody of extemporanea, and love is a thing that can never go wrong, and I am Marie of Romania." Bitch. Controlling whether or not love can go wrong is impossible, even for a vampire, the very symbol of power and control the show presents. After Russell loses Talbot, he relinquishes all self-control and indulges his darkest sensibilities, shifting his priorities to a goal of complete vampire supremacy. He couldn't control love, but damn it, he's a vampire, so he needs to be in control of something, so why not the world? He kills a news anchor on live TV in one of the most epicest of scenes, and this desperate act out of his flailing need for control sets him up as one of the series' greatest villains.
Why would we seek equal rights? You are not our equals. We will eat you after we eat your children.
You might think that vampires threatening world domination might make all the romance squabbles and philosophical love questions seem petty in comparison, but listen to what Russell says in the next episode as he mourns his dead husband.
You're the strongest man I've ever known. You made us a home, a refuge from all that madness.
Talbot, you saved me from the world, from myself.
It was love that kept his megalomaniacal inclinations in check. Love that wielded the greatest control over the power and death of the vampire. So, are the sacrifices we make for love worth it? Is it ever right to make those choices when someone else's heart is on the line?
Sometimes the right thing to do is the wrong thing.
And whether or not love is real, is it better to embrace it or punch it in the face?
You can't help but love.
I'm the Maven of the Eventide, and I love you, emotional support skull. Totes worth it.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Guess what? Remember that book I wrote that I've been talking to you about for like a year? You know, my novel about vampires and the Grim Reaper and the zombie apocalypse? Well, it is finally here. The Company of Death by Elisa Hansen is available in hardback and paperback from all of your favorite online booksellers, and you can order it from any country. The ebook is on Amazon Kindle, and there will be an audiobook in the near future. The link is in the description, so click it, check it out, read the summary. If you do read my book, please come back here and let me know, and leave me lots of Amazon reviews. As always, thank you to my Patreon patrons for making vampire reviews possible. If you want to know what vampire thing I'm going to review next and keep up with my vampire schedule, join my Patreon.